We don't just get what we want. We get what we believe. And we may not get what we want at all, to be honest, but we do get what we believe because that belief starts to shift our behaviors. I'm Patrice Washington, and this is the Redefining Wealth podcast, where authenticity leads to alignment and abundance. Join us each week as we peel back the layers on what wealth truly means and dive into conversations that inspire, connect, and empower you to live your richest life. Get ready to challenge the status quo. It's time to redefine wealth for yourself. Hey there. Welcome back to the Redefining Wealth podcast. It's Patrice, of course, and I am so grateful to be here with you today. I know the last episode was about 3 deaths that happened in less than 3 months in my life. And I took the last several weeks off just to rest and reflect and grieve and also show gratitude for who each of these people were in my life. And I'm so happy to say that a lot of good things have come out of me taking a step back. Again, a lot of reflection and a lot of thinking about who I want to be in the world and how I want to continue to show up, and maybe some of the things that I would like to shift, because none of us know when that time is coming. But I do want to make sure that I am living this life, this one and only life that we get, to the absolute fullest. And so let me just begin by thanking you for your love, for the cards I received in the mail, for the DMs, for the emails, for the voice memos. I am incredibly grateful to serve such a beautiful community. Thank you from the bottom of my heart. I wanted to continue on with our Abundance is Yours theme, which I started in June and of course didn't finish. But I had some things that I really thought would be important to share. And when I came back and looked at my notes, after attending such beautiful celebrations of life for women in particular who lived abundantly and lived fully and loved fully, I wanted to make sure that I didn't just keep it moving business as usual and skip to another theme. I actually want to stay in the abundance is yours mindset. And actually, I kind of shifted it a little bit so that we could talk about abundance being a mindset and also talk about surrender, which I think is really important in this season. And so I'm going to pick back up with 6 abundance principles that transform my personal and professional life as soon as we make it through this affirmation of the week. This week's affirmation is, I choose to embrace the principles of abundance. I am intentionally transforming my scarcity mindset by embracing the principles of abundance, knowing that in order to change my circumstances, I must first change my conversation and my consciousness. I release any thoughts of lack and replace them with affirmations of wealth, prosperity, and endless possibilities. By focusing on gratitude and what I already have, I attract even more blessings into my life. I lean into the vision provided to me uniquely by my Creator and confidently choose to take steps towards my goals, knowing that resources and opportunities are always available to me. Each day, I work to cultivate a mindset of abundance, empowering myself to live a life of infinite flexibility, fun, fulfillment, and flow. Declare with me today, I choose to embrace the principles of abundance. Okay, so last month I was talking about scarcity and how it robs us, right, of living abundantly, of experiencing joy, of experiencing love. You know, the scripture, the thief comes only to steal, kill, and destroy. And scarcity really does that. When we have a scarcity mindset, it makes us live in this constant confusion and fear and lack, like there's just never enough. And for many of us, that was programmed into us. It's just how we grew up. It's the environments we were around. It's the people who raised us and what their mindsets were towards certain things. And so if we're going to transform that former scarcity mindset that we may have been raised with into an abundance mindset, It's going to involve changing your thought patterns, your practices, behaviors, your attitudes towards resources, opportunities, people, ideals, all types of things. And so I wanted to offer you some tips to help you make this shift from my own life. These are abundance principles that have helped me reframe a lot of, one of my favorite words is foolishness, a lot, but it was really just the frameworks and the foundation for what I learned growing up. And the reality is I come from a family who knew how to survive, but thriving was a luxury. Thriving was something that they dreamed of, or maybe never, ever really dreamed of because it just wasn't top of mind. It just didn't seem available. And so I don't take it lightly that we have in this generation, because of the access to resources and the internet and how interconnected we all are to these concepts and ideas, we have the luxury of healing that many of our parents and those who came before us didn't have. So I don't take it lightly. I'm very grateful for the sacrifices of those that came before me so that I could live more abundantly. And so I want to share, based and broken down by pillar, because that's how my brain works. We're based on the 6 pillars of wealth. If you're brand new and you don't know what the pillars are, I want to invite you to go to patricewashington.com/start here and get familiar with the 6 pillars of wealth. But you'll hear me kind of break them down one by one now. So the very first pillar is fit. It's about becoming your best self. And this is about being mentally and physically well. And one of the abundance principles that has absolutely changed my life is visualizing my desires. This is a mental faculty. This is basically being able to see the life that I desire before I can see it with my physical eyes. This is about using my creative vision instead of succumbing to my physical vision. Many of us do not live, breathe, walk, move in abundance because we are stuck and paralyzed by only looking at what's right in front of us. We only use our physiological vision. And the reality is that to dream a new dream and to live abundantly, you have to be willing to practice using visualization techniques so that you can imagine a future where you have everything that you need, want, and desire. This is about creating mental pictures of the abundant life that you want to thrive in. And the thing about the mental picture is that it's supposed to activate a plan of action for you. It should activate a plan of action for you. And as I go through, you'll kind of hear, we'll build upon this, but I want you to think about right now, something that you truly desire. What is a goal that you want to achieve? What is a vision that you have for your life? What is the new dream on your heart? Can you close your eyes and envision yourself moving about it? Like if it's a house, can you see yourself in that house? I recently shared with the Institute for Redefining Wealth that I bought a workhouse. And a workhouse is essentially, for me, a home that I bought in Atlanta, not too far away from the airport, because I had a vision of being able to serve my one-on-one clients in a homey space. Every time I do a VIP day or work with someone one-on-one, I was renting office space or doing it in a hotel. And I really love the idea of bringing people home to themselves. And because of the way that I work, I just love the idea of being in a home space. My vision as an entrepreneur has always included just working from home or a homely type of space. It's never been corporate space or office space. And so anyhow, because I had that vision, what I would do was just sit every day, every morning, and I would visualize myself in the home. And the more that I got intentional about it, I could see the vision start to clarify. Over the days and weeks, I realized, oh, this is a craftsman style home. Oh, this is a 2-story home. Oh, I see myself using the master bedroom as actually like almost a hotel suite for my clients. They could occupy the entire house when they came here for a VIP day. Oh, the other bedrooms would be where my office is, where I now record the podcast. I just kept seeing it over and over again, but I had to create the space to visualize my desires. I had to block the time in the morning when I'm meditating and when I'm praying and when I'm journaling, when I'm reading my word, to also have 10 to 15 minutes to just sit and visualize. This is about using imagination. One of my favorite Albert Einstein quotes is, "Imagination is everything. It is the preview of life's coming attractions." When you believe that your imagination is the preview of life's coming attractions, it does something in your spirit. It gives you a different type of energy, a different type of excitement, a different type of vibe, because now you know everything in my being is raising the vibration to move me in the direction of this thing that I see in my mind. I'm not paralyzed by what, I'm not paralyzed by the how. I'm literally just enjoying being in that space because I know that I have to see it in my mind's eye before I see it with my physical eye. How can you, if you are someone who believes, write the vision and make it plain? How can you write a vision if you haven't first seen it in your mind's eye? How can you write a vision that you haven't seen yet? This is such an amazing principle that I hope you will adapt if you don't already use it. I also use visualization to help me reframe negative thoughts. So when I catch myself thinking something negatively, I choose to consciously reframe those thoughts into a positive vision. So for example, we are less than 90 days away now, away from Redefining Wealth Live in October here in Atlanta. And I'm not going to lie to you. Even last year, I felt the same way when I did Redefining Wealth Live as a podcast taping in 2019. I felt the same way. There's always that moment where you're just like, oh my gosh, is anyone going to come to my party? We have all of this planning, all this marketing, all of these things going on. Is anyone coming to the party? And so whenever that thought creeps in, because I'm human, you're human, we're all having very similar experiences. Whenever that thought creeps in, what I choose to do is close my eyes and I visualize myself coming down the center aisle to "All I Do Is Win, 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 No Matter What." That's like one of my favorite intro songs. And I look to my left in the vision and I look to the right and I see purpose chasers. I see familiar faces. I see my clients from all of the programs over the years. I look around and I see new faces. I see the DJ in the background, like really pumped. I see my team members on the side. I see just the beautiful screen and flowers and and then I start to feel the energy of it and the excitement. And then I replay pieces of 2023 where people were hugging and where they were crying and where they were having breakthroughs. Do you see how that just instantly raised my energy? Did you feel that? What if you start to do that for yourself? Can you see that you will become so much more abundant? You will walk with an expectation of abundance. Those thoughts creeping in, trying to create lack, they get fewer and further between, and they get so much more quiet. So what could happen if you incorporated visualizing your desires? Just a beautiful process. Here's the second one. And these all kind of connect together because I think that when you start to really visualize the desire as that initial principle for abundance, the other pillars work to support that. And this is why we use the pillars. It is the process for how we manifest these visions that we say we have, for how we process life and also manifest the visions of the lives we desire. And so people pillar, big abundance principle here, surround yourself with positive people who speak the language of abundance. You have to spend time with people who have an abundance mindset. This is what I always tell my clients. You want to stay connected. You want to stay in the space. And I'm not saying just my space, but in a space where people speak the language of abundance, because sometimes you will prevent yourself from being able to visualize more because you're too surrounded by people who only speak lack. You will prevent yourself from being able to visualize the more because you're surrounded by people who only speak lack. They only see an empty ballroom. They only see an empty bank account. They only see the business failing. They only see the marriage failing. They only see the children not doing well in school. All they see is lack. All they see is limitation. And therefore, that's all they speak from. And no matter how much you practice your positive affirmations and you read your books and you listen to the podcast, doesn't really matter if you continue to keep yourself tethered and anchored, connected to people who speak lack, to people who speak death, to people who speak destruction. Positive, supportive relationships will influence your own thinking and behavior. This is a part of why I created the Redefining Wealth app. I really just wanted to be in a space where I could cultivate a community of people who use the language of abundance, peace, prosperity, wealth, love, joy, because there's so many other spaces where it's just so negative. It's so toxic, especially when we're in these political cycles. Oh my goodness, it's awful. And when you start to incorporate that in your life, when you start to see that, you feel something with it. Don't think that you're just reading things or just listening to someone and it's not doing anything to you. That is not true. It is chipping away at your belief for abundance. It is chipping away at your promise of possibility. It is chipping away at the very fiber of everything that you say you desire. And so you have to be willing to remove yourself, willing to lose these tight connections. I'm not saying that you just sever all ties or burn bridges, but you have to be mindful of it. You want to reduce your consumption of negativity, whether that is news, music, media, anything that reinforces a scarcity mindset. When I was actively moving towards dating after my divorce, I had this playlist and it was, I'm not going to lie, it was one of those playlists like, I don't need no man. I could do bad by myself. It was full of a lot of Mary J. Blige. And when I was like, okay, what would an abundant, loving relationship look like? I had to stop allowing Mary J. Blige to be the soundtrack. No, I love Mary. I love Mary. Don't get me wrong. I'm still a fan of What's the 411, the original album back in the day. But I could not have that type of music and energy on repeat while simultaneously believing for an abundant love. I had to surround myself with any media that reflected love. So surrounding yourself with positive people who speak the language of abundance in any area is what we want to do. That's what I've done, and it's been a blessing. The third abundance principle comes from Space Pillar, and Space, of course, is about setting up your life to support you. And in the Space Pillars, a concept that I've talked about many times, I wrote about it in Redefine Wealth for Yourself. It is putting myself in my aspirational reality. Whatever I aspire to, whatever environments inspire me, whatever practices inspire me, not waiting until I think I deserve it, not waiting until I think I'm worthy of it, not waiting until I make a certain dollar amount. I find ways to put myself in those spaces and places. What's an example? Back in the day when I lost everything in the recession, my home in Southern California foreclosed, and I ended up living in this teeny tiny apartment in Metairie, Louisiana. And my former husband and I would go over to the riverfront, not far from where we were in Metairie, and we would do a morning walk on the riverfront. And so we would look at the beautiful homes. They were like 4, 5, 6,000 square foot homes, similar to the home that we had foreclosed on in California. And I would just look at the home. Sometimes I would walk near the gate and then imagine, this goes back to the visualization, myself kind of coming out of the gate, even though I would not touch people's property, but like coming from their driveway as if I was leaving my driveway and walking over to the riverfront to do my morning stroll. We would walk down the riverfront and people would be outside walking their dogs and we'd just be waving at them like we live in the neighborhood. Child, we lived in a 600 square foot apartment like across the way. but I was putting myself in the neighborhood. And I truly and firmly believe that putting myself in the neighborhood is how I got back to living in another 6,500 square foot home in California just a few years later. And then being here in Atlanta and living in a similar neighborhood. And it was because I saw myself in the neighborhood before I could see myself in the neighborhood. Nothing about my finances, nothing about my career, nothing about the car I drove, nothing about anything reflected that I would live in a neighborhood like that again. But putting myself in the aspirational reality made me feel more abundant and made me think more abundantly and made me take actions that were putting me on the path to abundance. So putting yourself in your aspirational reality just looks like drive the neighborhood, walk the neighborhood, go test drive the car, go sit in the restaurant. Even if you can't order the most expensive thing, sit in the restaurant and order the soup, but be in the restaurant, the type of environment that you want to, frolic in one day. Visit those open houses, scroll on Zillow and make a folder and save it. Save the folder of the homes you're interested in with the date. Right now, we are in July 2024. Go to Zillow or Redfin or any of these home search apps and make a folder and say, my future home or my home 2026, my home 2027. Do you know when you start to do this, something shifts in you? Instead of you asking questions like, well, how am I ever supposed to do that? You start to put a demand on your resourcefulness, on your creativity. You start to say things like, well, what would it take to do that? And all of a sudden, your thinking becomes more abundant because now you're thinking in terms of solutions and not just being someone who thinks from lack, which is only thinking in terms of problems and sometimes creating problems that don't even exist. But that's a whole nother story. Look through the airline app for your next trip. Anything that you desire, whatever your aspirational reality is, whatever you see in this vision, what are the small ways that you can start to put yourself in those spaces? Even if you can't physically get in the space, start actively planning for it as if you truly believe. Because this is the thing. We don't just get what we want. We get what we believe. And we may not get what we want at all, to be honest, but we do get what we believe because that belief starts to shift our behaviors. It starts to shift the conversations that we will have with the people around us, which is why we need to surround ourselves with positive people, with mentors, with like-hearted folks, with coaches, with therapists if we need to. So that's the space pillar. Are you ready for Redefining Wealth Live 2024? I hope so, because we already have everything locked in and all we need is you in Atlanta, Georgia. Do not miss this. Right now, we have early bird tickets on sale. You know you want to come, so you might as well lock in that ticket right now. Click the link below or go to redefiningwealthlive.com to secure your seat today. Next pillar is the faith pillar. It's about believing in something greater. Now, I know I'm going to challenge some of you with this one, and it's okay. I've been challenging y'all for the last 2 years, and it is what it is. But this abundance principle I want to offer you is to expand your personal concept of God. Expand your personal concept of God. Now, I was going to say, something about gratitude because gratitude has been such a huge part of my life. But if you're into personal growth, you already know that. I would hope that you already know. You've heard, keep a gratitude list, keep a journal, always be thankful and gracious and all that stuff. Wonderful. But I want to encourage you to learn another modality of how you practice your faith. Remember, abundance means in great quantity. Abundance means in great quantity. Learn another modality. God is so huge, and our scarcity, our personal scarcity makes us see him as so small and only available to a chosen few. He's only available if people look like you or talk like you or worship like you. Then you can share the same God. That's not abundant thinking. Because when you see God as limited, you inherently will see yourself as limited. When my concept of God grew, so much opened up to me. When my concept of God grew, when I say learn about another modality, some of us are so stifled by just the way that we practice. It's like, I hear people bash folks who still watch church online. I've had personally someone who was like an online church person tell me when I said I was going to church that was so old school, right? There's people who believe you can only get a prayer through if you are on your knees at a certain time, doing it a certain way, when many of us have adopted the principle that I can be on the treadmill and pray. I can be on a walk and pray. In fact, my eyes don't have to be closed to pray. I can be praying while I'm driving. For some of you, maybe journaling is the thing. I remember being in a space. I had two prayer partners, Brooke Thomas and Rachel Luna. They've both been on the podcast. And years ago, a couple years ago now, they were my prayer partners. And I remember we got on a call and there was another woman who got on the call and she was kind of prophetic and never met her. I still to this day have never met her. And she says on the call, she says, Patrice, God wants you to know that he sees the prayers that you write. It was something along those lines. He sees the prayers that you write. And many of you know that I'm such a huge journaler. And sometimes when I can't audibly just pray out loud or in my head, the way that it starts to come to me is through journaling. I start every journal entry with Dear God. And I have for many, many years. But I just share this to say, expand your personal concept of God. For me, prayer really comes to life through journaling. This idea that what you've always done is the only way that it can be, or what you always heard is the only way for you to experience God, is foolishness. Again, one of my favorite words. It's just so limiting and there's nothing abundant about it. I've heard people say, you don't question God, or you don't question this, and you don't question that. How else can you build relationship if not through questioning? How do you build genuine relationship if you don't ask questions? Ask God how he wants you to experience him in this season of your life, and understand that there are many ways that you can experience God. There's no one else who can tell you that ain't it. And I know that wasn't great grammar, but that is what it is. All right. So that's the faith pillar. The next pillar is work. Work is about living your life's purpose. And oh my gosh, the abundance principle that is changing my life in this season. Whew. And this is a current one. Everything else I've been rocking with for some time. Visualizing has been a big thing for me for many years. I would say probably 15 to 20 years. Surrounding myself with positive people. Oh my gosh, that's been like 25 years. Putting myself in my aspirational reality, that has been at least 20 years. I had a mentor who taught me that when I was about 19. So, look at me. That's really like 25 years. Okay. And then faith pillar, that has been going on about 3 to 4 years. But man, this is 6 months. It's changing my life and it's shifting so much. Let me give you the work pillar abundance principle. Focus on assignments, not audience. Focus on your assignment, not just building an audience. Oh my goodness. So many of us have been taught, especially over the last several years with the growth of online marketing, that we need to have larger and larger and larger audiences, that we need to have lots of followers on social media, lots of friends on social media, lots of people on your email list, that you just need more and more and more people. Something that has really been in my spirit for some time, but it's just been getting louder and louder, is that when I break my revenue goals down, I realize that I don't need to work with or be accessible to everyone. It doesn't take millions of people even knowing who you are to make millions of dollars. There are more than enough people in the world who align with my message, who align with my way of thinking, the way I believe, and the way that I coach. Those people are my assignments. Everyone else is an audience. Audience means simply a crowd of onlookers. But people who are assigned to me are folks that I want to lock arms with. I cannot be everything to every onlooker. But the people I'm called to lock arms with, yeah, we can do life together. That is a much more abundant way to go about moving through this next iteration of my calling and my purpose. I like that it feels more exclusive. I really do. Hey, you need to be all things to everyone. No, I don't. No, I don't. Because that makes you operate, in my opinion, from a place of scarcity. It'll make you think that everyone needs to love you in order for you to live out your life's purpose, and they don't. It'll make you feel like you have to burn out trying to keep up with all the things when actually you don't. This is why I brought back my one-to-one mentorship. I tried to do the membership, even the Institute. That whole format is changing. I'm telling you right now, if you've been on the fence about coming into the Institute for Redefining Wealth, this is going to be your last month or two to get it at $497 for the year. I've already removed the $49 a month option. I gave it 6 months and I was like, God, I'm going to give it 6 months. But to be honest, I don't feel aligned with that type of format. I love working with people who show genuine commitment. I don't do half-ass interest. That's not how I show up. And that's not really the type of clientele that I desire to attract. The clients that get results are always the ones who are committed to implementation, integration, repetition. They're coachable, and they do all this even in the face of inconvenience. That is a small percentage of people, if we're being radically honest. Those are folks with above average vision for themselves. They have an above average vision for their life. People who are interested don't follow through. They don't integrate. They don't implement anything. And then they complain about not getting results. Not my vibe, not my tribe. So this principle is currently helping me triple down on my conviction to release the idea that I must be for everybody. Anyone can consume my content, but not everyone can be my client. And that's okay. In this season of my life, especially, as I've been processing these deaths and these women who meant so much to me, I just have made a decision. I will not burn out trying to entertain an ever-changing algorithm and fickle audience. I will embrace finding and holding the right energy and the right offerings to connect with serving those that are assigned to me. That alone makes me feel so much more abundant. Now I can say, I'm okay with being exclusive. I'm okay with whatever comes with that, because ultimately the choice is peace over appearances. I don't want to have the appearance any longer of just like, oh, I'm just here for everybody. I would love to serve as many people as I can with this one and only life that I get. But I won't force myself to try to be all things to all people. That just is incongruent. I will follow through with, however, doing the work on me and in me to attract the people that I really desire to impact on a more intimate level. I know I have great impact. I mean, through television, through podcasts, through radio, through media. There's so many ways that, of course, I have impact on the multitudes, right? On the masses. But there's only so many people that can talk to me in a one-on-one intimate way. And I really want to clear anything that doesn't feel good in order to make space for being of service to them. I hope that this is one that'll be a blessing to you all as well. I hope it's a blessing to many of you, especially those of you who are in the online space like I am, focusing on your assignment and not just building a bigger and bigger and bigger audience just to say you did. Are you ready to redefine wealth and transform your life? Join the Institute for Redefining Wealth. It's a 12-month journey to financial wellness using our unique 6-pillar framework. We'll be your accountability partner, offering clear success paths, resources, and the motivation you need to stay on track with your professional and financial goals. And for a limited time, you can still join us for just $49 a month, because after this summer, I'll only be accepting enrollment at the annual rate of $497. So act now to connect with Purpose Chasers from around the world as we all level up pillar by pillar to achieve the lives we desire. Our Getting Started section is the system I've used personally to see huge visions come to pass over and over again. It is the foundation for how you leverage the pillars to support what you say you want to create in and for your life. And then you'll use Pillar Foundations. This is where the juice is. This is how you'll begin your 30-day authentic alignment audit. It'll help you identify areas of your life that may be out of sync with your goals. As a member, you'll gain access to in-depth training modules, categorized podcast selections, monthly themes, and challenges with exciting cash and prize giveaways, plus exclusive bonus access and sneak peeks to more resources that will help you along your journey to redefining wealth. For more details, visit redefiningwealth.institute. That's redefiningwealth.institute to take your first step towards a transformed life today. I will see you in the Institute. And the last pillar is money, right? And the abundance principle here I wanted to share was become a better giver. This is about practicing generosity. Share your time, resources, or knowledge with others as much as you can. Become a better giver. Sometimes just being in the practice of generosity can help shift your focus from scarcity to abundance, because it'll reinforce the idea that there is enough to go around. I love in How to Be Rich by Andy Stanley of North Point Church. He says, when you give, you recognize how much you actually do have. And he challenges the world's view of wealth and says that it's really not just about having money, it's about generosity. That true richness involves when we understand and leverage the resources that we have to make positive impact on others. Because this society can really be deceitful, right? We can try to create more and more and more money and do all the things associated with that and never feel like we have enough. When the reality is, even, I forget the percentage that he quotes, but he talks about how such a great percentage of Americans in particular have so much more money and access to money than most of this world's countries. Really think about that. It feels like we never, ever, ever have enough. And I can say, I know that on this podcast in particular, because just in the clients and the people that I get to talk to, many of you have incomes that you feel like are extremely low here. And I understand inflation, and I understand gas prices are high, and I understand cost of living is high, and all those things. But he's just trying to illustrate that in comparison to many other countries in this world, you are extremely wealthy already. And so this is just about a mindset shift that says, instead of me always thinking I'll give when I have more, when I have more, when I have more, but then there's always going to be demands on you. What if you put giving in your budget? What if generosity was just a part of what you did every month? Is there no way that you could start to exercise the generous muscle that you desire to have now with where you are now? How this changed something for me most recently is I shared at Redefining Wealth Live 2023 that what God put on my heart at the end of 2022, really early 2023, was to create a foundation. I already know the name of the foundation now, and I know that my desire is to support women and girls who are exiting psychologically abusive relationships, because I believe we think about domestic abuse quite a bit, but psychological abuse is huge too. And I want to support with entrepreneurship, education, financial literacy education, and of course, mental health support. There's all these things that have been going on outside of the deaths, dealing with all of the things that came from a divorce and rebuilding a lot. There's this part of me that's like, is this time to do the foundation? No, maybe I need to push it back. But when I thought about this abundance principle, and when I kept kind of mulling this over, I'm like, well, my desire is really to just give. Who said that it had to be through my foundation? The foundation can be a desire of my heart, and I could be working towards that. But what if I just start sourcing the nonprofit organizations now that already do this? I don't have to wait for the foundation. Do you see how that shift creates more abundance? because now I can just redirect the giving that I already do towards this very specific cause. For some reason, my brain was creating a separation that they had to be separate, and no. So it just shifted immediately, remembering that I can choose to become a better giver and improve how I want to go about my giving practices at any moment. Led me to where I am today, which is sourcing those organizations. And if you have some, you know of some that fit with what I just described, please don't hesitate to DM me on the Redefining Wealth app, because I pay attention to those DMs way more than any other social media platform. I hope that these 6 abundance principles have been a blessing to you. Make sure that you rate and review the podcast and drop your comments. If you're listening on YouTube or if you're in the app, just go ahead and drop your comments. Share what one big abundance principle takeaway is that you have. And also, if you have any principles that you want to share with the rest of the community. I would be remiss if I didn't remind you that Redefining Wealth Live is less than 90 days away. I would love to see you there. Go to redefiningwealthlive.com to get more information. We are halfway through our VIP seats. So if VIP is the way you like to roll, then I suggest you come on over and get your ticket. But either way, I just want to see you in the space. It's going to be an amazing time. In the next few weeks, I'll be sharing more about the lineup and our artists, our guest artists. You know, I love a good show. Last year was Tony Jones. This year we have Londrell booked and confirmed. And there's just so many other goodies that I want to share with you, but I'll do it maybe in next week's episode. So until next time, I want you to go live your life's purpose, find fulfillment, and earn more without ever chasing money. I'll talk to you later.